Dark Warrior, White Wolf, The Reckoning. From the Dark Warrior series, Book 5, Prologue, Fateful Encounter. 1876 Dakota Territory. The dawn of a new day crept silently over the horizon, casting a soft golden hue that barely pierced the thick veil of mist enveloping the landscape. From a vantage point on a low hill, a group of soldiers peered down at a Lakota village, nestled in the valley below. The air was cool and crisp, each breath mingling with the sweet scent of dew-kissed grass. As the sunlight struggled to reach the ground, it illuminated the wisps of fog that danced lazily above the earth, creating an ethereal atmosphere. The faint crackle of campfires reached the soldiers' ears, mingling with the rich aromas of breakfast cooking, the earthy smell of corn, and the smoky scent of meat sizzling over the flames. Children's laughter floated upward, a joyful sound that contrasted with the solemnity of the soldiers' mission. The playful shouts echoed through the village, while the soft murmur of women's voices conversed in the melodic cadence of Lakota, their words weaving through the air like a gentle breeze. Men sat near the fire, their faces etched with the wisdom of experience, exchanging stories and preparing for the day ahead. The scene was a tapestry of life, the vibrant pulse of the village thriving beneath the watchful gaze of the soldiers, a moment suspended in time, where the beauty of nature intertwined with the complexities of human existence. In the next moment, the thunderous hooves of the cavalry horses echoed across the vast, windswept plains of the Dakota Territory. Colonel Nathaniel Bancroft sat tall in the saddle, his face set in a grim expression, as he led his men towards the Lakota encampment. This was not the first time he had ventured into the heart of the native lands, but the stakes had never been higher. Nathaniel's daughter Sarah had been living with the Lakota for the past 5 years. Ever since she had been taken from her home as a young girl, he couldn't get her to stay at the fort with him. He had rescued her 3 times now, but she always went straight back to these people. The first time he'd found her and brought her back, she'd been 13 years old. Now, at the age of 20, she had become a woman in her own right, with a fierce spirit and a deep connection to the people who had raised her. The Lakota called her Strong Heart Woman, and Nathaniel was determined to bring her back, no matter the cost. As the soldiers approached the village, Nathaniel could feel the tension in the air. The Lakota were a proud and formidable people, and they would not take kindly to the intrusion of the white man's army. But Nathaniel was a man of unwavering resolve, and he was not about to back down. "Fan out and secure the perimeter," he barked to his men, his voice carrying over the din of the horses and the shouts of the Lakota warriors who had taken up defensive positions around the encampment. "I want Strong Heart Woman found and brought to me alive and unharmed." Nathaniel's gaze swept across the scene, searching for any sign of his daughter. He knew that she would not come willingly, and he was prepared to use whatever means necessary to bring her back to the life he had planned for her. As the soldiers began to advance, a lone figure emerged from the shadows, his dark eyes narrowed with suspicion. Nathaniel recognized him immediately. White Wolf, a half-Cheyenne warrior who had become a close friend and confidant to the Lakota people. "What is the meaning of this, Colonel?" White Wolf demanded, his voice low and challenging. "Why have you brought your soldiers into our lands?" Nathaniel's jaw tightened, and he sat a little straighter in the saddle. "I've come for my daughter, White Wolf," he said, his tone brooking no argument. "Sarah is to return with me to the fort, where she belongs." White Wolf's eyes flashed with a mixture of surprise and something else, a flicker of something that Nathaniel couldn't quite place. "Strong Heart Woman is a free woman now," he said, his voice calm but unyielding. "She has chosen to live with us, and we will not surrender her to you." Nathaniel's temper flared, and he leaned forward in the saddle, his eyes narrowing. "She is my daughter, and I will not be denied. Nay," he growled. "If you stand in my way, White Wolf, you will regret it." For a moment, the two men stared at each other, the tension thick enough to cut with a knife. Nathaniel could see the conflict in White Wolf's eyes, the internal struggle between his loyalty to the Lakota and his desire to avoid a confrontation with the powerful colonel. A movement in the corner of Nathaniel's eye caught his attention, and he turned to see a figure emerge from one of the teepees, a woman with long, dark hair and eyes that seemed to burn with a fierce intensity. "Father," she said, her voice low and steady, "I will not go with you." Nathaniel felt a surge of relief and triumph, but it was short-lived as he saw the determination in his daughter's eyes. "Sarah," he said, his voice tinged with a hint of desperation, "you must come home. Your place is with your family, not with these savages." Strong Heart Woman's eyes narrowed, and Nathaniel could see the anger flaring in her gaze. "My name is Strong Heart Woman," she said between clenched teeth. "These people are my family," she growled, her voice rising with emotion. "They have given me a home, a purpose, a life that I could never have had with you. I will not leave them, Father, no matter what you threaten." Nathaniel's jaw tightened, and he could feel the frustration building within him. He had always been a man who got what he wanted, and the thought of his daughter defying him in this way was unthinkable. "You will come with me, Sarah," he said, ignoring her Lakota name, his voice low and dangerous. "I will not leave without you." White Wolf stepped forward, his hand resting on the hilt of his knife. "She has made her choice, Colonel," he said, his voice calm but unwavering. "If you try to take her by force, you will have to go through me." Nathaniel's eyes narrowed as he regarded the young warrior, weighing his options. He knew that a confrontation with the Lakota would be costly, both in terms of lives and political fallout. But the thought of losing his daughter, of having her slip through his fingers, was unbearable. With a heavy sigh, Nathaniel turned his horse and signaled to his men. "We will return, he said, his voice laced with a warning. "And when we do, I expect my daughter to be waiting for me." As the soldiers began to withdraw, Nathaniel caught a glimpse of Sarah's face, and he could see the relief and defiance in her expression. He gritted his teeth, knowing that this was far from over. For White Wolf, the encounter had left him with a heavy heart. He had always admired Strong Heart Woman from afar, drawn to her fierce spirit and unwavering loyalty to her adopted people. But now, with her father's return, he knew that their lives were about to be turned upside down. As the dust settled, and the Lakota returned to their daily routines, White Wolf turned his gaze towards the horizon, his mind already racing with the implications of what had just occurred. He knew that he would have to act quickly, for the colonel's threat was not an empty one. And in the back of his mind, a single thought kept repeating itself, like a drumbeat that refused to be silenced. "I will do whatever it takes to keep her safe."